What do you do when the restaurant you built from scratch starts getting 5-star reviews for service but 1-star comments for food? That question hit Trent Saunders like a punch to the gut. He'd started with one small burger joint 12 years ago. A single grill, a rusty soda machine, and a dream. Now he had 11 locations spread across 3 states, fast, casual comfort food done right. That was the promise. But lately, something wasn't right. It started with a few odd reviews. Great staff, but my chicken tasted weird. Love the vibe, but something was off with my fries. Then a message from a long-time customer. This used to be my go-to spot, but I got sick last time. Trent wasn't hearing anything alarming from his district manager, so he decided to find out for himself. He picked Store 6, one of the mid-tier locations in a busy suburb. It wasn't the worst performing, but not the best either. Just average, quiet. That's what worried him. He'd never met most of the staff there. Hiring had been handled by the local manager, and since COVID, he'd relied heavily on video calls and regional updates. No one knew his face, and he'd lost weight since the early days, shaved his beard, and now wore glasses. With a generic name tag and a faded uniform, he looked like any new guy trying out a minimum wage gig. "Hey," said a woman in her late 20s as he walked through the back door. "You must be the new trainee. I'm Shayna. I'll show you around. You worked in food before." Trent nodded. "Yeah, some. Not recently, though." She gave him a quick rundown of the kitchen layout: fryer, grill, cold prep, freezer. A young guy named Matt was on the register. An older guy with a loud voice, Toby, was running the kitchen. And a teenage girl, maybe 17, was slicing tomatoes like her life depended on it. The manager, Paul, wasn't in yet. "He comes in late," Shayna said. "Usually after lunch rush, leaves early too." Trent raised an eyebrow. "Is that normal?" She gave a dry laugh. "I just work here, man." The shift started slow. Trent chopped onions, cleaned trays, restocked cups, normal stuff. But by noon, the line hit the door. "Order up," Toby barked from the back. He moved fast, plating burgers and wings, but something felt off. Trent watched as Toby pulled a bag of chicken from the walk-in cooler. The smell hit him hard, sour, almost sweet. "Hey, Toby," Trent said, keeping his voice low. "That chicken smells weird." Toby didn't stop. "It's fine. Smells like that when it's been marinating." Trent frowned. "You sure it might be expired?" Toby slammed the tray down. "You knew. I've been cooking longer than you've been alive." "You want to tell me how to do my job?" Trent backed off, but his stomach twisted. He glanced at the teenage girl, Emily, her name tag said, who was now wiping down the counter. She looked nervous, like she'd heard the exchange. After the lunch rush, Trent caught her near the sink. "Hey, Emily. That chicken Toby used, does it always smell like that?" She looked around, voice barely above a whisper. "Sometimes. Last week, someone complained their sandwich tasted sour. Shayna told Paul, but nothing changed." Trent's jaw clenched. "And they still served it," she nodded. "Toby said it's fine if you cook it long enough." That night, Trent went back to his car, sat in the driver's seat, and stared at the steering wheel for a long time. His heart was pounding. He wasn't just upset, he was furious. But more than that, he felt like he'd failed. He built this company on trust, on quality. Now someone in his kitchen was ignoring basic food safety, and no one above them was stopping it. He looked in the rearview mirror. His disguise was holding. No one had recognized him, and tomorrow he was coming back. But this time, he wouldn't just be watching. He was going to dig. The next morning, Trent clocked in 10 minutes early. He wore the same faded uniform, same name tag, and kept his head down as he entered through the back door. The air in the kitchen was thick with fryer oil and something metallic he couldn't quite place. Shayna was already there, tying her apron with one hand while scrolling through the prep list in the other. "Didn't think you'd come back," she said without looking at him. "Why's that?" Trent asked, grabbing a pair of gloves from the dispenser. Most new hires either ghost or get fed up with Toby's attitude by day 2. She finally glanced at him. "You're either stubborn or broke." "Maybe both," he said. She gave a quick nod, then motioned toward the prep station. "Egg salad and slaw need finishing." Grab gloves and don't use the slicer, it's busted again. Trent got to work, slicing boiled eggs by hand. The prep table wobbled slightly, one leg propped up with a stack of napkins. He noticed a brown stain on the cutting board's edge, old, dried, and clearly missed during the last clean. By 11:30, the kitchen had 3 people on the line. Toby, as usual, took over the hot side without a word. A new face showed up: Lewis, a tall guy in his early 20s, quiet but quick with his hands. Emily was doing front prep again, dicing onions with her sleeves rolled up and earbuds in. Paul, the store manager, finally walked in at noon sharp. He wore a polo shirt that looked freshly ironed and sunglasses pushed up onto his head. He didn't acknowledge anyone as he passed through the kitchen, heading straight to the office. Trent waited 5 minutes, then turned to Shayna. "Does Paul usually hang back there all day?" Shayna gave a slight shrug. "Unless someone calls out or a customer flips out at the register, yeah. Does he do any checks on the food?" "Not unless we ask, and even then." "Depends on his mood." Trent felt his jaw tighten, but he kept his voice calm. "That seems risky." Shayna didn't respond. She just turned away and started wiping down the counter. At 1:15, a customer sent their grilled chicken sandwich back. Matt, the cashier, brought it in and held it toward Toby. "Guy says it smells like vinegar and rubber." Toby took the sandwich, sniffed it, then tossed it in the trash. "Tell him we'll remake it. Grill's hot." Matt hesitated. "Should we check the chicken packs?" Toby didn't answer. He already had a new fillet on the grill. Trent stepped closer. "Seriously, man, we should pull the chicken and check dates." Toby slammed the spatula down. "Didn't I tell you yesterday I've got this under control? You also told me marinated chicken smells sweet. This isn't sweet." "It's gone bad." Toby turned toward him, his voice raised. "You're a trainee. You don't get to question how I run my line." Lewis glanced up from the fryer. Emily had stopped slicing. Looking between them, Trent didn't flinch. "I'm not questioning your skills. I'm saying serving spoiled food puts people at risk. It's not negotiable." Toby threw the spatula into the sink. "You don't like how we do things. Walk out." The kitchen went silent. Even the sizzle of the fryer seemed to fade. Matt stepped in. "I can pull the chicken packs." "I've got a sec," Toby snapped. "You're not food safety, you're register. Stay in your lane." Trent stared at him. "You're done. Step off the line." Toby scoffed. "You think you can tell me what to do?" Trent met his eyes, voice steady. "Yeah. I can." He walked toward the office, knocked once, then opened the door without waiting. Paul was sitting at the desk, sipping iced coffee and scrolling through something on his tablet. "Need something?" he asked, not looking up. Trent shut the door behind him. "Yeah. I need you to come out here and watch what's happening in your kitchen." Paul looked up, clearly annoyed. "Who are you again?" "I'm the guy who watched your line cook serve meat that smells like ammonia. Twice." Paul leaned back, arms crossed. "Toby's been here 4 years. He knows what he's doing." "Then why are customers sending food back? Why is your prep table covered in grime? Why is your slicer broken and no one's logged a maintenance request?" Paul was quiet for a second. "You need to stay in your pay grade, man. You're here to chop onions, not run the store." Trent stepped forward. "I'm also the guy who owns this business. Name's Trent Saunders. Want to see my ID?" Paul's face drained of color. He stood up halfway, then sat back down. I didn't know you were coming." "No, you didn't." "That's the point." Trent opened the door and called Shayna in. She paused at the threshold, glancing at Paul. "I need you to help me pull the chicken packs from the cooler and catalog the dates. Bring Lewis too. Matt can stay on the register. I'll deal with Toby." She nodded once and left. Paul spoke again, voice lower now. "Look, this store runs lean. We've had turnover. I can't be everywhere at once." "You don't need to be everywhere, you just need to care, and from what I've seen, you don't." Back in the kitchen, Toby was pacing near the back sink. "You're really serious about this?" he asked, voice laced with disbelief. "You served food that could have made someone sick. You ignored a customer complaint. You dismissed 2 employees for raising safety concerns. That's not a mistake. That's negligence." Toby looked at the rest of the crew. No one defended him. "You're done here," Trent said. Toby grabbed his bag and stormed out the back without another word. Trent turned to the others. "Anyone who needs to take 5, take it now. We're going to clean this kitchen top to bottom before dinner rush. Then we're going to fix the process together." Shayna spoke first. "Do we, call corporate about Paul?" "I am corporate," Trent said. "And I'm not done yet." They spent the next hour pulling every raw ingredient from the cooler, logging expiration dates, and tossing anything questionable. Shayna found 2 containers of slaw that were 6 days past their label. Lewis found a stack of pre-grilled patties with no dates at all. Trent didn't raise his voice once. He didn't need to. The silence in the kitchen said enough. By 4, the place smelled like bleach and fresh prep. The fryer oil had been filtered, the cutting boards scrubbed, and the napkins under the prep table replaced with a proper wedge. Emily came up to him while cleaning the soda station. "Are you going to shut the store down?" He shook his head. "No. We're going to run it the way it should have been run all along." She hesitated. "Do you think the other stores are like this?" "I hope not," Trent said, "but I'm going to find out." She nodded slowly. "Thanks for listening." "A lot of people don't." Trent gave her a small nod, then turned back toward the service line as the dinner rush started to build. He wasn't just watching anymore, he was in it now for real, and he had no intention of walking away. By midweek, Trent had quietly replaced Paul as acting manager without ceremony or announcement. Paul hadn't fought it. After a brief, tense conversation in the office where Trent laid out the food safety violations, ignored complaints, and a complete lack of leadership, Paul walked out without collecting his last paycheck. He'd left the office keys on the desk, along with a half-finished drink. No one asked where he went. Trent didn't fill the role with a new hire. He didn't need to. Not yet. He wanted to understand the day-to-day pressure before trusting anyone else to lead. Wednesday's shift started with Trent unlocking the front door at 8 in the morning. Shayna was already there, double-checking the produce delivery. She didn't say much, just handed him the invoice and pointed toward a box of lettuce heads that looked battered and half-frozen. "This is the 3rd time this week," she said. "We keep getting the tail end of the truck." Trent crouched down, pulled a head from the box, and ran a thumb across the outer leaves. They wilted under even the slightest pressure. "Which supplier handles this location?" She handed him the packing slip. "Riverpoint Foods," he nodded. "I'll call procurement. We're switching vendors. I'm not letting this get served." Shayna folded her arms. "You're the first manager that's even looked at the delivery." "I'm not a manager," he said. "I'm the owner, still wearing the apron, though." That earned a short laugh, quick but real. By 10, Emily had arrived and was stocking the toppings bar. She worked methodically, lining up containers with careful precision. Trent noticed she'd brought her own knife set, wrapped in a cloth roll. "Those yours?" he asked as she unfolded them. "Yeah," she said, not looking up. "I saved up for them. The ones here are always dull." He watched her work for a moment. "Do you like working here?" She paused. "I like cooking, and I like when it's quiet, but last month I almost quit." "What changed your mind?" She hesitated. Shayna said to wait. That maybe someone would notice what was happening. Trent nodded once. Someone did. Emily didn't say anything more, but her shoulders relaxed just slightly. By noon, the lunch crowd began to build. Matt handled the register, and Lewis ran the line with Trent. They worked in rhythm, Trent on grill, Lewis assembling. Shayna floated between stations, checking temps, handing out gloves, and coaching Emily through her first attempt at plating a full sandwich order. Everything moved quickly, but nobody rushed. For the first time since Trent had walked in, the kitchen felt controlled. Then, just before 1, a man in his late 40s entered the dining room, wearing a corporate polo and a heavy expression. He stood near the counter, scanning the restaurant, then locked eyes with Trent through the pass window. Trent stepped out front, wiping his hands on a towel. "Can I help you?" The man extended a hand. "Mark Jensen, Health and Safety Compliance, Riverpoint Foods." "We got a call from your procurement team this morning." Trent shook his hand. "Appreciate you coming in person." I'd like to inspect the boxes myself. Trent led him to the walk-in cooler and showed him the damaged produce. Mark crouched beside the box, examining the cores of the lettuce heads, then pulled out his phone and took several photos. These were packed 4 days ago, he said. Frozen in transit. I'll flag the shipment. You'll be refunded and we'll audit the delivery route. Appreciate it. But we're moving to a local supplier starting next week. This isn't the first issue. Mark stood up, brushing off his knees. Understood. If you change your mind, let me know. We'll handle the refund today. Trent escorted him out, then stepped back into the kitchen. Matt was handing off a receipt to a teenager in a school uniform. Shayna was finishing a grilled cheese. The rhythm hadn't broken. He pulled Shayna aside near the back sink. You ever consider running this place? She blinked. Like full-time, you already are. You just don't have the title. She looked unsure. I'm not. I didn't go to school for it or anything. Neither did I, Trent said. You keep the team together, you monitor quality, you speak up when something's wrong, that's management. She didn't answer right away. What about Lewis? I've got plans for him too, but this place needs someone steady and they already trust you. Shayna looked toward the kitchen. Emily was laughing at something Lewis had said. Matt was wiping down the soda station. I'll think about it, she said. By 3, the shift had mellowed. Trent was in the office, going through vendor contracts on the dusty desktop computer, when he heard shouting from the front. He stepped out and saw a man standing at the counter, red-faced and loud. Emily was frozen behind the register. I just asked her to repeat the order, the man snapped. She looked at me like I was speaking Chinese. Trent stepped forward, calm but firm. Sir, is there a problem? This girl's giving me attitude. I've been coming here for years. I don't need some kid acting like I'm stupid. Emily kept her eyes down, silent. Trent turned to the man. She didn't say anything disrespectful. I was 10 feet away, I heard the whole thing. Then maybe you weren't listening, the man shot back. I'm the customer. You should train your staff better. Trent kept his voice measured. I'm not going to let anyone speak to my team like that. You're welcome to order, but if you raise your voice again, I'll ask you to leave. The man scoffed. You're making a mistake. No. I'm not. The man glared at Emily once more, then turned and walked out without ordering. Trent turned to her. You okay? She nodded slowly. That happens more than you'd think, he paused. Has anyone else treated you like that here? She hesitated. Not since last week, but before. Yeah. A few customers. One of the old shift leads used to say I was too quiet to be at the register. Said I made people nervous. Trent's jaw tightened. That's not happening again. You want to move back to prep, that's fine, but you're not being pushed out. She nodded. I'd rather stay on register. I want to get better at it. You already are. Later that evening, after the dinner rush had tapered off, Trent sat in the back office with Lewis. The kitchen was clean, the floors mopped, and the lines stocked for the morning. You ever thought about training others? Trent asked. Lewis tilted his head. Like a shift lead, more than that, a regional trainer, you've got the patience. You break things down without making people feel stupid. Lewis looked surprised. I've only been here 10 months. I've seen people do less in 10 years. Lewis gave a small nod, thoughtful. If you think I'm ready, I'll try it. I do. And you won't be on your own. I'll be checking in. They finished locking up just after 11. The crew left together, no one lingering behind, no one shoving tasks onto someone else. For the first time, the place felt like a team. Trent stood outside, watching the empty parking lot. The sign above the store still carried his logo, the same one he'd sketched on a napkin 12 years ago. But the name hadn't meant much lately, not until now. He pulled out his phone and opened a blank document. At the top he typed, in-person rotation quarterly, no exceptions. Then he added, anonymous reporting hotline, direct to me, and finally, leadership must be earned, not assigned. He saved it and slipped the phone back into his jacket. Tomorrow he'd visit another store. But tonight he'd earned a little peace. Trent returned to store 6 early Saturday morning, this time through the front entrance. No apron, no name tag. He wore a dark jacket and a plain button-down shirt. The dining area was quiet. save for the low hum of the soda machine and the soft scrape of a mop near the back. Matt waved without pausing his work. Trent nodded, then walked behind the counter into the kitchen. Shayna had already started prep, her sleeves rolled up, a clipboard tucked under one arm. Emily was breaking down boxes in the back, moving with a focused pace. The air smelled clean onions and fresh bread, nothing sour, nothing off. "Morning," Shayna said, glancing up. "We're short again." Lewis called in his little sister had a fever overnight. "Appreciate the heads up," Trent said. "I'll cover grill." She handed him the prep sheet without hesitation. "I've got openers on cold prep, but we'll need someone to watch orders between 11 and 2. I can float if needed. Let's see how it shakes out. I'll stay through dinner rush." As the sun rose, traffic picked up. The first regulars trickled in, construction workers grabbing breakfast sandwiches, a nurse in scrubs ordering soup to go, two teenagers arguing over sauces. Orders came in steady but manageable. At 10:45, a young woman in a burgundy hoodie stepped behind the line. She looked unsure, holding a small tote bag and scanning the room. "You're Jess?" Trent asked. "Yeah, Paul hired me last month, but I never got trained." "He said to just show up eventually." Trent nodded. "You're on prep with Emily today. She'll walk you through safe handling. You ever worked with knives?" Jess hesitated. "Not much, I was supposed to, but Toby didn't want anyone touching his station." "Not a problem. You'll learn right." Emily met Jess at the sink and handed her gloves, speaking quietly but steadily. Jess listened closely, nodding along. By noon, the line stretched to the door. Trent worked the grill, flipping patties and watching the screen for modifiers. A rush order came in 2 grilled chicken sandwiches, no pickles, extra sauce. He moved to the cooler, checked the label, and pulled a fresh tray. "A week ago," Shayna said, watching him. "That wouldn't have happened." Trent didn't look up. "It is now." At 12:30, a man in a blazer and aviator sunglasses tapped on the counter. He was older, maybe early 50s, with a forced smile and a clipboard in hand. "I'm looking for the manager," he said. Trent stepped out from behind the grill. "That's me. Greg Patterson. Corporate compliance. We got flagged for uneven training hours at this location. I need a sit down." "Walk with me," Trent said. They moved to the storage area where boxes of dry goods were stacked neatly along the walls. Greg flipped through his notes. "Your onboarding logs are incomplete. No signatures on food safety forms, no documented line checks before last week." "They were being ignored. I know, I was here." Greg blinked. "You're the one who flagged it." "I'm the owner." Greg straightened. "Mr. Saunders, I didn't realize." "If I had known, I want an updated onboarding system across all locations. Digital, trackable, and tied to performance reviews. If someone skips a form, it gets flagged immediately." "I can draft a proposal, do it, and remove Paul's access to internal systems. He shouldn't be able to approve hiring or scheduling." Greg nodded, flipping his pen to a new page without hesitation. Trent returned to the kitchen. Emily and Jess were plating salads. Shayna was checking temps, and Matt was handling the register solo, calling out receipts with practiced rhythm. Halfway through the shift, a customer flagged Trent near the drink station. She was in her late 30s, holding a half-eaten sandwich in one hand and a receipt in the other. "I just wanted to say this place feels different, cleaner, quieter. I used to avoid it on weekends." "Thanks," Trent said. "We're working on it." "Whatever you're doing, it's working." He nodded and stepped back behind the pass. At 3, the rush slowed. Trent tapped Shayna on the shoulder. "Let's talk." They stepped out back where the sun was beginning to dip behind the strip mall across the lot. The pavement was warm, the air still. "You've kept this place standing," Trent said. "I want to make it official. General manager, full authority, pay increase, benefits." Shayna leaned against the wall, quiet for a moment. "I didn't think I'd stay here more than 6 months. Most of us didn't," Trent said. She looked at him. "You going to do this at every store?" "Yes, one at a time," she nodded slowly. "Then yeah, I'll take it." Inside, Matt was stacking cups near the soda machine. Jess was wiping down the prep table, her sleeves damp but face steady. Emily was labeling containers. Trent called them together. I want to thank you all. You didn't ask for the mess this store was in, but you stuck through it. That deserves recognition. He handed Shayna a small envelope. Your new contract, you start Monday, full GM privileges. She looked down at the envelope but didn't open it. Lewis will return Tuesday. He'll be training new hires across the region. Matt, you'll be cross-trained on shift lead. You've got the timing and the head for it. Emily, register and prep. You pick your shifts. And Jess, you'll finish onboarding properly this week. No shortcuts. Jess nodded, surprised but grateful. Trent continued. I won't be here every day, but this place, what it becomes next, that's on all of you. I'm not just fixing store 6. I'm rebuilding the culture. Shayna stepped forward. We'll hold the line. The team broke, returning to their tasks without fanfare. No applause, no cheers, just work done right. Trent walked out front, sat in the last booth and watched the kitchen from a distance. The pass window was clean. The orders were steady. The system was strong. He opened his laptop and began drafting a message to all store managers. Effective immediately, every store will undergo a surprise audit within the next 60 days. I will be on site for each one. You will not be notified in advance. Food safety is not optional, neither is respect for your team. Leadership is earned, not granted. If you've stopped listening to your staff, I will find out. This company was built on trust. It's time we start living like it. He hit send. Then he closed the laptop, stood up, and walked back into the kitchen. There was more work ahead, but tonight store 6 was clean, safe, and finally led by the right people.